this is the seat of God. This is the throne of God right here in the middle of your heart. This is where you directly access the thing you long for. But I was just taught and trained that no, the only way you get close to being in a loving relationship with God and with others is by what you think and believe rather than what you're experiencing that you can't say.
Welcome to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Chris Miller. I invite you to join me as I interview artists from a variety of disciplines. We'll share powerful stories and lessons learned while making their art. Good day, listeners. This is CJ Miller, the host of the Spiritual Artist Podcast. It's been kind of a busy morning here for me in Dallas. I've been running around to and fro, and I got myself a nice cup of turmeric tea. I highly recommend it. And it even comes with a little label on there that has a little sage kind of advice on there. And this one said, peace of mind is the strength you have. And I'm like, oh, okay, peace of mind. So I'm kind of excited about today's artist. I love, as you know, I love interviewing people that are new thought leaders, talk leaders, spiritual leaders, and artists. And this guy's both. He has a spiritual background and he has an artist background. So I'm excited to unpack that because there's so much relatability to what I do. So, and maybe not some relatability. We'll see. Anyway, Chad Glazener is a contemplative abstract painter based in Portland, Oregon. For Chad, painting is a vital spiritual practice that has replaced his former work as a pastor. I'm going to say that again, folks, because I think you want to catch that. Painting is a vital spiritual practice that has replaced his former work as a pastor. Wow, right? Chad's paintings emerge through an encounter with silence, exploring the inner life in a wordless way. His layered compositions and organic marks become a visual record of presence. He's speaking my language, isn't he? He invites viewers into their inner landscapes to encounter wisdom in new ways. Uh, so let's get him on board here and talk to him a little bit. So good morning, Chad. How are you?
Hey, good morning, friend. It's good to be with you. I'm very well. It's a beautiful day here in Portland. Sun is out, fall is coming, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, it's ironically, we've had a couple cool days here in Dallas. I mean, and that is very unusual. Like wind blowing and it feels fallish, right?
That's right. That's why you've got your tea. You're ready. You're
I know.
summoning it.
I'm
Yeah.
getting my little turmeric tea, which by the way, I love these little labels. It has these little labels on there, and they're actually pretty, short, crisp. Anyway, so let's
Yeah. Yeah.
let's get into this because I listeners, Chad reached out to me. I don't know, Chad, did you find me on Instagram?
I did. Yes. Yeah. I am newer to painting, so I'm still in the mode of finding friends far and wide. And I came across your Instagram feed, read about you, saw your website, and said, oh, this is my people. I need to reach out and have a conversation.
Well, I'm glad you did. And listeners, I want to encourage you to do that. I've had many guests on the show that just reach out to me, and I can tell we'll do a little preview call, and I don't say everybody that reaches out to me gets on the show, but people that are aligned with my message. And Chad, I mean, this is interesting. I want to first say, for a beginner,
Yeah.
I think your artwork looks really nice. It's beautiful.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yes, I am about 18 months into the practice. And, I didn't go to art school formally. I'm self-taught, or I like to actually say unconventionally taught because
Uh-huh.
teachers come from different spaces in unexpected ways. Um, but for me, I think always being able to return to a beginner's mindset and never get too hoity-toity about what I'm doing allows me to push the practice further and helps me discover more of what I love specifically and the questions I'm trying to encounter while I do the work.
So are you saying, because I can't believe this, are you saying that you've never done art until 18 months ago?
So my that's not quite true.
Uh-huh.
My first love is theater.
Okay.
So I have an extensive background in training in theater and especially lots of movement-based techniques that come out of contemporary dance and ballet. So I've always been an embodied creative person.
Mhm.
But painting specifically, no, I was one of those people who for years and years said, I can't draw. I don't know how to draw. I'm not good at, that's for other people. But 18 months ago, I started and haven't stopped. I paint almost every day now.
Wow. It's okay. So I wrote down movement because we're going to go back to that because I love
Great.
to talk about that. But I I I believe that when we're creative people, it bleeds into all disciplines.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And even when we think we're not being creative, that feeds into the creative practice because being creative is so much simply about being awake and aware in the world. And so everything is inspiration when you move through the world in that open-hearted, open-minded kind of way.
Oh, you're seeing all these wonderful words. I
More
because
coming.
I'm more coming, because I love that. I teach my students more important than how to hold a brush or how to draw or how to pick the right paint is your consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, that's also an exercise in just knowing who I am. And so when I begin painting or I'm stuck in a work, if ever I feel like I'm being pulled in lots of different directions, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to fix, I don't know how to begin, the place I try to return to is, well, what do I love in this present moment? What's calling out to me? And to let the creative act be a way for me to just learn more about what I love or don't love, what I prefer or don't prefer in any given moment.
And Chad, listeners, I want to tell you this. He has not read my book. I don't think you have read my book,
No,
right?
not
No.
yet.
No. Okay. So what he just said though is a wonderful reflection of what I talk about when I say look for what's working. So there's a
Mm,
chapter on looking for what's working, and I constantly find too many artists, they look for what's not working,
that's
right?
good. Yeah. Yep. And it's easy to get caught up in, especially in like social media, visual culture, to look at everything else other people are doing that looks like it's working and then feel shame or like censored about ourselves. Like, why isn't it working for me? But what we don't see is whatever's being shown, that went through dozens, if not hundreds of repetitions and discoveries and experiments and what they thought was garbage. So it's really about attending to yourself at any given moment.
So you said something earlier about um, that you like to go back to. Did you say I would call it the more child level, going back?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
talk about
Beginner's
that.
mind.
Yeah, okay, so unpack that. What do you mean by beginner's mind?
Well, as I keep practicing and keep learning more, I'm always meeting new artists. In the book, The Artist's Way, one of my favorite things Julia Cameron says in that is God is an artist, and artists love other artists. And that has been true my whole life. Whenever I'm around other artists, I just feel energized and in communion. And so, as I learn more, as I encounter more artists and see their work and let it feed into my inspiration, I try to resist copying them, letting what they do inform what I do, and maybe there's a bit of dialogue and play with what they're doing. But if ever I'm feeling too in my head, too self-critical, too self-judgmental, too afraid or confined or whatever it is, I'm trying to take a step back and say it's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to play, experiment, make mistakes, make failures, and let this be easy, free, and fun. And whenever I'm in that energetic space, that's when discoveries come that take my breath away, or things come that I think are maybe not so great, but other people have an experience of it because I think they're sensing that quality of energy, that quality of discovery and love and play, and it's attractive. So, returning to beginner's mind, I really just mean don't let what you learn or the experiences you have sort of barnacle up on you that you can't let it all go and just start from the very, like, pick up a box of crayons, get a piece of construction paper, just put color on. Um, I'm now at the point where I have to remind myself to that, even though I'm still relatively a beginner.
Yeah.
I'm now having to just remember what it felt like when you first started and there was no way you could fail. go there again.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's that I call it a place of curiosity, you know? Just
Yeah.
be curious. Be curious about the texture and the drag and the paint and just let yourself feel it and get lost in it and just let it lead you kind of, right?
That's good. And that actually what you're saying, the feel of it is almost more important to me in my process. The colors and the technical parts of the composition, they kind of come together later. But for me, as someone with a background in theater and whose experience in the world is more sensory driven, less, visual or word driven, to see texture come together, to see compositions come together through feeling is really exciting to me. It's I think what led me to abstract expressionism in the first place.
Well, let's talk about this a little bit. It's so interesting because when you called me and you said that you were serving as a pastor very recently, I
Yeah,
told you that I have constantly I kind of we're going in different directions, maybe, or maybe the same direction, but I have not had any I've trained through different spiritual centers, but I have been called and pulled to, I've seriously considered being a minister.
right.
And then I decided that my ministry is art,
Yeah, it's
and
beautiful. Yeah.
teaching people art is my ministry. And so I just did a service a couple weeks ago, and I want to talk about it briefly. It was with
Hmm.
Unity of Dallas, only because it's just what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And what I told the audience is focus on the feeling, the feeling. And
Yeah.
so when you're painting, what you're saying is if you just focus on the feeling space, everything else, in my opinion, everything else unfolds. What do you think? Do you think that?
Yeah, if I were to make it to my previous work in pastoral ministry, and we can definitely talk more about that, I agree. It sounds like we started what seems like opposite sides of the story, and here we are meeting in the middle. But
Right.
in other ways, not. In other ways, we're on parallel tracks. One way I try to talk about my transition out of working as a pastor and into my now vocation as a painter and an artist is for so much of my life, I grew up in spaces where words were the most important thing. To talk the right way, to use the right words, to use them precisely was powerful. It shaped experiences for people. It gives comfort. It gives meaning. It opens up people's hearts in ways. I think like the best poetry does this. And I learned how to do that, but to the neglect of, I think, my primary way of moving through the world, which is in a heartfelt, open hearted, chest centered space. So for so much of my career, it was up here in my head, trying to speak about these huge mysteries of human experience and longing and questions and encountering the divine, but sometimes to the detriment of not having the experience myself embodied. So sometimes I made the mistake of talking about the thing being a substitute for experiencing it directly. And that's what painting especially has led me towards, is a kind of spiritual practice. I call it even a practice of prayer, where I am getting out of the part of myself, which I still love and value, right? I love words, I love the power of words. But for an important moment in my life, I had to let all of that go in order to let the experience of being in my body and communing with God, with source, with divine, with this mystery that we use these words to try and capture. But anytime we put words on it, it evades our understanding. That the closest I could come was in this direct experiential way. So it's what lots of contemplatives talk about. It's what lots of mystics from different religious traditions talk about, is letting go of the ways of trying to talk about it to just have direct loving encounter with it itself.
Wow. We're parallel.
Yes.
You just
Yeah.
said it. So yes, 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 yes. I am and have found myself at the same place. And I come from a German background. It was always about the mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even honestly, Chad, even the training I had with the church was all about the mind.
Yeah.
And I,
And to be clear, you know, I love the life of the mind and I don't want to cut off any part of myself, but I just was in spaces where that was the most important thing.
it's an
Um,
all thing, right? It's not an
yes,
and or,
exactly.
right? It's an and, not an or. It's the
Yes.
same. It's all. And I remember raising my hand when I was being trained by the minister, and I said, "What about feeling?"
Right.
And she stuffed it down. She was like, "Oh no, no, this is all
Yeah.
about your thoughts and your beliefs." I'm like, "No, no, no. Feeling
Yeah.
is important."
Yeah. And I think one of the most damaging messages from the tradition I came out of was this idea that your heart is inherently wrong and deceitful and not trustworthy, that you're carrying around actually kind of an enemy within you that you have to master. When I think the reality is, this is the seat of God, this is the throne of God right here in the middle of your heart. This is where you directly access the thing you long for. But I was just taught and trained that no, the only way you get close to being in a loving relationship with God and with others is by what you think and believe rather than what you're experiencing that you can't say.
You know what I love I love something that you're doing, and you're using the word experiencing in interchanging it with heart space.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that a lot because it is a feeling space, a beingness, an
Yeah.
experience, right?
The space of integration. It's where everything comes together.
You know, I'm hearing, Chad, I'm hearing a book. There's a book in you, okay? Just, I know you're not interested in it right now because you're into the
It's
visuals.
no, it's funny you mentioned that. I agree. Can I tell you about it a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me
Can I
about
can
it.
I manifest it with you?
Mhm.
I think I want to spend time, and I'm not ready to write it yet, but I'm really interested in how creativity is a spiritual pilgrimage. So you think about in almost all religious traditions, there are these journeys that faithful practitioners take to distant lands. Um, and the journey itself is a kind of formative, unifying experience that does something to you. And what you are at the end of it is different than, but also somehow more than who you were at the beginning. And so I think as I'm just thinking about my creative practice as a spiritual practice and trying to be really careful with these words because I know they can have baggage for a lot of people. Um, I'm mostly talking about the ways that when we undergo a creative practice with honesty and heartfelt intention, we become more of who we long to be. We encounter more of ourselves with more love, and we show up then in the world with more to offer. So yeah, I think there's a book somewhere down the road. But again, I only get there through the practice of the silence, the practice of the creative practice, the painting. So I'm trying not to get ahead of the skis, as it were.
Hey, well, okay. So, if you did read my book, you're gonna love it. But maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe you keep going your own way. Um,
What does that spark in you? Yeah,
oh yeah, because that's all in there.
great,
It's all
great.
in there. But
I think we need like as many people as possible
mm.
refracting the same basic message right
And
now. I think,
it happens. Yeah, and I
yeah,
think it happens. I believe that we're all connected and that
yes,
this is a universal. I have had people attracted to my message across the ocean and it
yeah.
resonates so deeply with them. And when they do resonate, they stay in touch. But I
Mm,
love something you said in there that a lot of people are afraid of. So I would love for you to unpack it because I believe in it. In one of the last chapters of my book, I talk about the importance of going off for 1 week a year and at least 1 week a year and painting by yourself, not with friends,
mm,
not in a retreat, but by yourself. And you just mentioned silence.
yeah.
And I have found silence to be an incredible portal for me to connect. But want to talk to me about that? What do you mean?
This is it. This is, I think, the bedrock of my creative practice, and it's the way that I am becoming, waking up most intensely, and it is the thing that I am still most afraid of, and maybe like procrastinate around or find excuses to not do. Um, Silence is the fullness of presence in the present moment. So silence is not a vacuum. It's not a void. It is everything. It is the warm embryonic fluid of your mother's womb. It is the uh, starlight pouring out across the cosmos, going on for eons and eons. It is pure energy. And so there's when we think about silence, we tend to think mostly about like self erasure, or I'm trying to shut everything down, turn everything off in order to have this certain kind of experience. But for me, entering into silence, it's more about things becoming aligned and sort of humming, with a vibration that matches everything else around me. It's a really energizing and stilling experience. And it's what I try to bring into my practice of painting, but also like this happens to me at the end of almost every painting session. I just need to have like a 10-minute sit and just sort of the creative afterglow, because I feel connected to the energetic fields that connects all of us and is greater than all of us. Um, and then solitude, the twin practice of silence, that is scary. It's scary to be with yourself by yourself. But I was just thinking about this morning, actually. Um, I want to be the kind of person in the world who is able to offer to others what I am able to offer myself first. I want to be able to give out the kind of love that I've always wanted to receive from other people, but I'm only going to be able to do that if I am giving it to myself first. So I'm in practices of solitude and silence. It allows me to come out of the talking headspace into the heartfelt, the longing space, to be tender and gentle with that part of me that wants to be deeply loved, and to access it, to receive and offer it simultaneously, and then to be available to give it to others as I move through the world. But if I don't go into that space of being comfortable with myself, of learning how to become my own friend, or for a lot of people, even my own parent. If I don't learn how to uh, ask for with tenderness the thing that I need and to find it already within myself, I'm not going to have a lot to give. And then the quality of the art itself is going to always be searching and yearning, which is great. But I'm wanting to make artwork that allows people to access that sense of safety, that contemplative mood when they see it, in real life.
Mm, that's wonderful. That's very wonderful. That is exactly what it's about. I wanted to pick up a couple things you said. It's scary. Solitude is scary only
Yeah.
because you think it is, right? And I'll tell you a story, Chad. The first time I did it, I used to go to Santa Fe on these group retreats, and then my teacher retired. But I was
Mm-hmm.
so dedicated. I love painting so much that I went by myself and I rented a studio. Let me tell you my first experience. It's way out in Santa Fe, like, and I don't know if you know this, the roads you're really isolated. Well, I forgot my phone.
Oh yeah.
I forgot my phone on the airplane, so I had no phone, and I
Stuck.
had it was so I drove out to this to the retreat center. I was there the year before, so it wasn't like I didn't know how to get there. But I always say you really have to face yourself
Yeah.
in solitude. All the little voices, all the little things in your head. You should be this. You should do that. Talk, talk, talk. It's you and them
Yeah. Yeah.
until you let them go.
And
Right.
it's easy to be addicted to that. It's easy to be addicted to that, to feel like we have some orientation in a world that is frankly like chaotic and turns over every day. So I get it. Like I get the addiction to wanting to be connected and attached to all of the voices to feel a sense of stability in ourselves. But what we really need to be is we need to be that stability in the world for the world. We can't be sort of sucking it out of others to try and feel it when, man, you are the anchor. You can be the anchor that the world needs. And if we all do that, the whole thing becomes more stable.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be the stillness. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I, I,
You have to be
I,
God.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to. I say, yes, demonstrate. Let God flow through you as you, and yes, and see God in everyone else, but
Yeah.
be the presence of God. It's that's exactly right. And I want to go back to when you were talking about painting. For me, when I get into that state that you're talking about, where I'm painting, I call it a state of love. I'm just I turn off the judgment, the criticism, the expectation, the desire, oh, this painting's going to make me famous. That doesn't
Right.
matter. Or people will
Yeah.
notice me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The,
And it's so beautiful to have a practice that if it can stay for you first, like that's how I'm trying to think about it these days is it's great to share, it's great to exhibit, it's great to sell work. Yay. Because there is something beautiful about the way that artwork can forge connection between people. I think that's lovely. I love, love, love that. But ultimately, my creative practice has to be about helping turn me into the kind of person I want to be and should be in the world, to show up in the world with more honesty, more love. And yeah, like painting or any creative practice, frankly, it's that forge that's going to force you to like you're going to have to choose. Are you going to keep living in self-judgment and criticism, or are you going to let it go and challenge it by moving forward?
right. One of the things my mentor told me was to watch my process. That's what the book came out of, watching how I make work. And one time, and I started realizing that when I made good work was when I was in the state, I call it this consciousness of wholeness. Like when
Mm,
I came from a whole perspective, knowing that I was just fine who I was, beautiful things happened. But if
yeah.
I approached the canvas with any sense of I need to be noticed, I need money, I need it, didn't
Yeah.
work.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so I feel like I'm still fiddling around with this because sometimes I'm using the creative process as a way to get out of the like stuck headspace and then end up in the state of love. Do you have any like practices or intentions, ways of setting intentions that you do before arriving to the painting practice? So the question is, how do you prepare for a painting practice that begins in a state of love versus letting the painting practice get you into a state of love? Or is it either or, both
It
and?
well, it depends. Sometimes you're already there and you walk in and you're great. A couple things that you would maybe relate to. I was raised Catholic,
Hmm.
so ritual. And I always invite artists to have what I call an altar in there. And this is only certain faiths, but there's a reason Catholics use an altar because you go in there, you might have some pictures of loved ones, you might have a pine cone you found out in nature, you might
Yeah.
have a painting of one of your favorite artists, but you light it, the act of lighting that candle.
Mm,
It's like you're saying, I'm holding this space for
yeah.
the sacred right now. And when I light that candle, up until I light the candle, right, I can, I can worry about the bills and my kids and all. I light the candle.
That's good. It's like now we're beginning. It marks the
Yeah,
beginning.
it's
Yeah.
the beginning.
Yeah.
And that candle, and then the second thing I do that's really many people talk about this, but the act of gratitude. Um,
Mm,
and I'll tell people to sit down and use your fingers, count to 10 things that you're grateful for. I love that I just lit this candle. I love the scent of the candle. I love this. I love my dogs. I love the fact that I have this 40 minutes, whatever, 30 minutes carved out. Just let it flow naturally. Gratitude is just lovely,
that's
right?
great. That's really good.
And the other thing that I like to do is that you might try is I love to put a piece of paper. I call it a parking lot, and I put it on the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Uh-huh.
done that? And so when your mind starts chitter chattering, I got to do this. You just go over there and write it down,
Oh, okay.
and get back to work. So your
Yeah.
mind says, "Oh shoot, I forgot to pick up that milk at the store." Just write it down. Go
Yes.
back to painting, and then when you leave and you blow out the candle, you can pick up your
Yeah, I thought I do the same thing, but more with like colors and marks. So if I'm like feeling stuck, I'll go over and just like scribble. Like I'm like, this exists to be messed up. Like it's not going to be pretty. I'm just like, this is the garbage paper. And then by the end, it's usually like the most interesting thing. It's like
Oh, it is. It always is. It
it's a
always is.
container because it's just taking your honesty. It's taking all of it.
You said that in the very beginning. Yes, people can sense that. It's not
Yeah.
the perfection of the painting. Famous painters, if you look at their work, for most cases, it's not because it's the most beautifully realistic interpretation of a face. It's
Hmm.
the feeling of it that you see in the stroke.
Oh yeah. And it's also hard to describe the difference between seeing it digitally versus in person.
Oh,
It's a whole energetic difference.
very much so. I want to talk about something because you have this background, and you said you have a theater background,
Yeah.
and my husband is a theater teacher, and he's a director, and he teaches the Meisner method, and it's all about,
He's the best.
yeah, they are the best. And we talk a lot. And when I was writing my book, the Meisner has a thing called, and you'll resonate with this because you talked about body and movement.
Hmm.
The Meisner has a technique where you sit across from someone and you throw words back and forth, like, I like your dress. Well, thank you. But it's like, you always have to move it ahead. You can't say no. You just have to move it like improv,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So I incorporate that into my retreats with movement. I have two artists or three, or sometimes the whole room, but two artists at least stand next to each other. One person does a stroke and
Yeah.
then the other person reacts to it. So instead of Meisner, which is in words, they are
Yeah.
they are they are playing back and forth like you just love, right? With color and line and movement.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's uh very similar to my training. My training background is in a technique called Viewpoints in Suzuki, which does a very similar thing. It is taking individual elements of movement like topography or space or duration or tempo and working with them one at a time, and then giving the artist the chance to either build upon, react to, resist whatever's given by the other artist in the room to then build up a whole scene. So I love it because it's a way of dialing into yourself a felt sense of honesty. Um, it's a way to get out of the I should do this or I bet people want me to do X and to just keep returning again and again, like I want to do. And when you offer that freely to the group, then something bigger than all of you starts to take shape. So it's a way to get closer towards honesty. And it also makes me think about, we're talking about integration and being heady people versus heart people, but also like movement, like having embodied movement is an important part of our existence and growth in the world. So it's beautiful that you do that in these retreats. I think that's so valuable than just sitting at a stool, hunched over, trying to figure out how to make two colors work together.
It's funny. I'll tell people they'll try to do it and they'll try to sit. I'm like, no, stand up. Stand up. I
Yeah.
want your whole body into this. So
Yeah.
say that again. What is the technique? Is this a theater technique that you're talking about?
Yeah, so this is it's called Viewpoints and Suzuki. It's sort of two methods that are great complements to one another. Tadashi Suzuki is a Japanese theater practitioner who developed this, and it's about generating as much movement as quickly as possible and stopping in stillness. So it's about the
Oh,
juxtaposition between generating incredible amounts of energy and colliding that with utter stillness and seeing what happens as you approach an infinitely impossible task. And then Viewpoints, um, Anne Bogart is the most famous
oh,
American.
love her. I've read her. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So she's not the sole like theater people would kill me if I said she invented it. She didn't invent it, but she's associated with it. And this is about deconstructing movement into different parts. So it feels more like contemporary dance because it's about entering into states of flow with other people that are fluid and full of lots of possibility and discovery.
Oh, I love Anne Bogart. I actually quote her in my book. She's interesting, right? Because she is very, you can read her. She's a cerebrally interesting
Yeah,
as she is in what she does. And I love seeing crossover, like we just talked about, the different disciplines do inform each other.
yeah. They're all sisters, right? Those muses.
Yeah, they are. I have
Yeah.
to check that out. I'll have to get this book and read about it. So, is there a way, or have you thought of a way of taking that motion and then stillness with your painting?
That is kind of a live question I'm exploring in my studio is I have all of these evocative words that I want to explore how to make how what sorts of gestures come close to the feeling of the mood. So, what kind of line is a spacious line? What kind of what kind of movement is a tense movement? So I think right now I'm sort of building for myself a vocabulary of gesture, like in Viewpoints. But in my studio, I'm all over the place. I'm at the wall, I'm on the ground, I'm at the easel, I'm moving like back and forth. And if I'm ever stuck, I do the same thing. If I can get on the ground and be moving over the canvas with my hands, that always gets me back into the space of love reliably.
Oh, I love that. I paint in my house. This is my house, my studio, and I would love to have a warehouse where I have a floor that I could just. Although
Yeah,
I've
just
kind of
go.
I've kind of ruined the floor in all honesty, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have a home studio too, and I was like, you know what? I can always paint over those walls again. Might as well ruin them. So,
I love the idea of movement. My friend Crystal, she helps me with my fall retreat here, and she talked about us rolling or doing something on the ground in the paint,
oh,
on the
yeah,
paper.
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the trick there, like with any movement technique or any of these workshops, like it's easy to for people to get in their heads and think about like, am I rolling the right way? Am I doing it right? It can accidentally create a barrier where people are more self-conscious than they need to be. So like it's always about a felt sense of safety to try something in your body to explore the possibility that might emerge if you do it. Um,
Right.
but that's like this is what you learn in like your theater class when you get up and you're like, oh, I should walk and say it like this because that's what people want me to do. And it's not honest. So it's not compelling. It's just you're just giving me something borrowed that isn't originating from you. So it's not good. Like only you can do the thing that you can do in your body. And that's what we need in the scene. Same thing with painting, right? It's like
Right.
only you can make the mark in this way. Even if it looks like someone else or you're in dialogue with someone else, the thing you need to do is give the thing that only you can give. And frankly, that takes time to discover. It takes a lot of repetition and practice. I'm still discovering it for myself. Um, but that's why I think it's a spiritual pilgrimage. It takes time.
Oh, it's a practice.
Yeah.
I love that term. I learned that on the spiritual. It's always a practice, and you're never done.
No.
Um,
What
I
is
w-
done? What does that
what is
mean?
done? If done means dead,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one that says done is dead. But it's so funny. So I have this practice that I do. It's called asemic mark making, and I make marks. And I've learned that in time, those marks start. They're very rudimentary. They're very based in childhood, but then they start turning into things, literal, like iconic things.
Oh,
And
cool.
and I've been doing this for many years, but just about 2 months ago, I actually wrote a vocabulary.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you know how you were talking about
Yeah.
what mark means anger. Instead of
Yeah.
thinking anger and then looking at the mark, let yourself make marks and then analyze them.
And then be
Right?
like, oh, this one is actually, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
that's
do
good.
that. I do that through music.
Hmm.
You don't have to. You could do it, but if you feel music and you feel a song that's angry, and you see what happens if you feel a song that's sad, you see how your marks change. But I really think just
Yeah.
make the marks, and sooner or later, suddenly I'm like, wait a minute. Why do I keep coming up with this ladder? There's ladders in my work. It's like an icon that's related to me, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to get somewhere.
That's so funny. I had a ladder appear in a painting the other day. I was like, where'd you come from? Yeah.
Well, because we're all connected through society,
Yeah.
there are icons that would have similarities. Now, it doesn't mean it means the same thing.
Of course. Yeah.
Your
Right.
ladder could mean climbing down into a hole and hiding yourself. My ladder could mean, going up to the heavens and to be godlike. But it's
Yeah.
our background learning, right? I got that. A friend of mine is a hypnotherapist,
Oh, cool.
and she would say she would isolate things in like if you're a smoker, she would find out why you smoke, and she said it's so funny. Sometimes you smoke just because your father was very handsome and popular, and he smoked, and so you
Mhm.
relate handsome with the cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah, we are interesting creatures.
But I was raised by a mother who was very critical of smokers and said they were it was dirty and nasty. So in my mind, a cigarette is dirty and nasty. But there is no, it's relational, right? It's an
Yeah,
opinion.
that's right. Yeah, it's a perspective.
But going back to the marks that you make as an artist, it's like you said, nobody, I want to repeat this to the listeners. Nobody can make the marks like you do with your body. It's not just your consciousness. It's not just it's the whole thing. It's your heart
Yeah.
space.
Yep.
It's your mind. It's
Right.
your physicality. Like
In
if, right?
in some ways it's like it's great because it gets ahead of your mind. So like you were saying, it's like if you make all of this symbology or these marks and then you take a moment and step back and then reflect on it, you might discover things about yourself with your mind. Like your mind shows up last to the party, like, oh, hey guys, what are we doing? And your body and your heart have already told you so many things about yourself or your experience of the world. So we live so much of our lives going the other way around where we have adapted to cutting off any sense of threat or danger or um, making meaning as quickly as possible so we know how to navigate through social situations. But to flip it on its head and be like, blah, here's what it is, here's my experience. You can, and this is what I think generates wisdom in us. Like this is how we discover what we really are about, when we can let our mind take a break and let the wisdom of our bodies come out first.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great quote. So, looking at your art, because I'm going to put some of your images in this video so people can see them, and they're beautiful. What are you exploring right now? Is there something that you're kind of finding fascinating, or are you just kind of just exploring in general, or texture, motion, movement? What?
I think the easiest way to answer that question is I am always exploring my own inner landscape.
Mm.
And so in some ways, I'm still trying to name at this season of my life, what is it that you're doing? And I think I would say like I'm an interior abstract landscape artist. I'm really interested in creating objects that prompt a spirit of stillness, contemplation, and energetic presence. Um, this is what hooked me into painting as an early adult is seeing in person some of the works of the New York school abstract expressionists who we all love. They're the best,
Mm.
Klein and Rothko and Twombly and Mitchell. And just, I love these people because when I saw their works as a 20 something, it felt like I was watching theater. Like these paintings communicated to me a sense of presence, a sense of um, wordless communication that was more than just the artist's, technique. It was like I'm reticent to use this language because it can be a little fuzzy, but they're almost angelic. They're almost like they have this energetic presence that you can't ignore and you just want to be with because you're having a kind of communion with them. You are the boundary between your experience and the experience of the painting begin to ebb and flow, and you leave that experience with the painting maybe having descended into deeper inner silence or solitude, which is always good, or having had some sort of exchange with the painting where you leave with a clearer sense of yourself, or maybe new questions or curiosities about yourself. So I'm trying to figure out how to make works that do that for other people because they do it to me when I make them. So that's why I call myself a contemplative abstract artist. The act of painting is I'm trying to create objects of contemplation that support that way of being in the world for myself, and then hopefully find an echo in someone else. So I think there are lots of ways technically I'm trying to do this, different viewpoints I'm playing with to figure out my vocabulary, but that's the big project right now, I think.
Hmm. That's it. That's wonderful. Interesting. So, because some paintings, like when you say to me like Twombly,
Mm-hmm.
I feel motion with him. It's to me, it's very right.
Yeah.
Um, are you saying that you are driven more towards paintings that just all good paintings make you take a pause, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They make you go, and that's
Right.
the sense of awe that they trigger, the connection. But are you more attracted to paintings that really calm you or raise you? Or you don't know yet? What do you think?
I think so my experience of Twombly is in some of his works, it reaches the balance point between stillness and motion where I feel like equilibrium. I feel energized, like that motion you're describing, but also like paused at the same time. So I think for me, I'm trying to find the middle point, the tension point, the balance point between clarity and obscurity, between like detail and non-detail, different kinds of color combinations that produce certain feelings within me. Um, that's this is like a newer edge for me. This is I'm a year and a half into this practice, and I'm hitting lap 2 of my practice, and this is where I'm going next. So I'm working bigger now. I'm working mostly on canvas that I hand stretch and prepare, because even that act for me is a meditative one. It infuses a kind of energy and attention into the artwork when I prepare the surface myself. And then working big, I mean, is feels really important to me because it gets that movement, it gets that full range of possible exploration flowing.
Yeah, everybody's different. I'm with you. I feel like my arm strength, my breath. I like big canvases, and when I paint small, and I have,
Hmm.
I feel so, like like I'm in a box.
Yeah.
Like I'm being
Yeah.
like all this energy now, and it can make a beautiful thing. I've made beautiful things that are
Yeah.
11 by 14. I don't think I can go like I can't even do, folks. I can't do 10 by 10. When you get below 12 by 12, that is as small as I want to go, you
Yeah.
know?
I just laid out a bunch of small papers, some like 9 by 12, and I've already, ruined them, but they'll turn into something interesting. But I think I'm trying to think more about like the conservation of energy, or like a focus in a small
Mm,
thing. So if a big painting is a here's everything over time, and it kind of lands in a moment, to maybe do the active repetition on a small thing that's like one mark, one mark. It's just like a quick Polaroid of a moment rather than a whole layered, interesting composition, mostly as an act of discovery.
yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. There's challenges. I always encourage my students that if you're used to painting big, make yourself paint small. If you're used to painting small, make yourself paint big,
Yeah.
because it will open up techniques to you that ideally you can take, maybe not all of them, but part of them back to
Yes.
what you love. Um,
Exactly. That's returning to beginner's mind. Like, oh, I found something that I never would have found if I stayed in my lane.
Right, right. The woman Virginia Cobb is who I trained with, and through my book and my process, like you talk about getting into that state of experimentation, is I think the word you used, or experiencing.
Yeah.
Um, I think that that's where all the different, I call it going into the gap. Deepak Chopra says entering the gap, but I think that's where you come up with all these different techniques and looks and feelings. Um, I get, a lot of artists, they'll discover one aspect of themselves as a painter, and then that's all they do. The next 80 years, they just do the same thing, the same thing. But if you
Right.
go back to the experiencing level, I'm using your language,
Mm-hmm.
it's that the possibilities are endless. They're
Yeah,
endless. You,
absolutely. And you learn, I think, if you do the creative practice over time, you sort of see the arc of your becoming as you go. And that's what's ultimately most interesting to me as someone who's always going to be intensely interested in theater is like, what's the narrative arc here? I thought I was going this way, but then the the scene shifted and now we're going this way. And what are the possibilities there? It's all just one big, beautiful drama.
It is. My biggest challenge is I'll have different looks. I call them looks or brands. And then I get like, oh, I'm drawn to this, but then I'm drawn to that. And which one do I pick up today? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm working on something behind me, which is I'm letting myself just do what I want to do.
Great.
And for really, really letting myself, it's always like another layer of that onion, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I read somewhere recently that just trust that when you enter that space, it doesn't mean you'll be profitable,
That's good. That's
but you
good.
will you will be complete. You will be expressing your whole self. And it's not always about can I sell it? It's about have I expressed myself wholly?
Yeah. Yeah. Good wordplay there. Holy.
Yeah, yeah, wholly. It is.
WHOLHOL. Yeah.
I found this Buddhist teacher. She's online. I don't know if you've read about her, Amoda, Amoda, May, Maa. Very neat. I got one of her books and I love it. And that's kind of where I saw that quote. It's about being in that presence. It's that experiencing level. It's that what only you can bring.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, there is only the present moment. I mean, one of my early formative kind of mystical texts when I was in college that I read was by this unknown priest. We don't know a lot about him, but the title of the book is called The Sacrament of the Present Moment. And the idea of the book is that everything you need for this journey of life where you are encountering and growing in love is always available in this present unfolding moment. And so, if we're
Mm.
using Catholic language, it's a sacrament. It is the place where you are meeting and tasting God's infinite abundant love. And it's only in the present. It's not in your imaginations about the futures, your projections into the past. It can only ever be now.
And who was that again?
So the it's a Jesuit priest. Jesuits are great.
Uh-huh.
His name is Jean-Pierre de Caussade.
I have to check that out because I believe that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's
the
great.
principle behind my creativity and what I teach. When I teach, I just want them to be present. I want when I come to my retreat, just be present. So that leads me to a question: is that your favorite writer, theological writer, or do you have another one?
No, I mean I have a whole little gang. I think the more on the fringes, the more I like them, the more where they're saying things where people are like, "What are you talking about?" I tend to like them. So I think my one of my current best teachers is Meister Eckhart, who he got kicked out of the Catholic Church at the end of his life. He got deemed a heretic, but he's really come back into popularity right now in contemporary religious dialogue, both Christian and non-Christian. And he has this quotation that feels to me like a great descriptor of my current experience as someone whose job was to stand up and try to say something true about God, about myself for a community. He says, God is known in the soul not through a process of addition, but only through the process of subtraction. That the longing you have to be in experiential communion with God, the only way you get there is not by accumulating experiences, words, um, degrees, books read, podcasts listens to. It's about like letting go, detach, 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 let go until you're only floating in the infinite ocean of God. So that's, I think, the spiritual mood I'm in these days is how can I keep practicing detach, release, even from like the words that were themselves so important to me. They were my whole career at one point. Um, to let even those go so that I can experience even more of what I always wanted.
Mm, that's beautiful. Right on. Is there anything else you want to share? We're getting to our end of our time here, but we could go on. But
Darn.
anyway, is there?
This is fun.
It is fun. Maybe we'll have to have a part two. Is there
Yeah, maybe.
anything that you'd want to share with them? I mean, I love that. I love that reference. But is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners?
Well, I would just, first of all, thank you for inviting me and for being another person in this work. I so admire what you're doing, and I'm so glad that there are more people out there doing it in parallel tracks. Yeah, for anyone who's listening who wants to know more about me or my practice, two ways to find me is my website, which is www.glazenerstudio.com. That's Glazener studio.com. I write a monthly newsletter where I kind of work out some of the things that we're talking about here and share them with my readers. So if a book comes, maybe that's the way it'll come, is working it out in kind of an online
Ah,
format.
take that word out. When the
Okay.
book comes.
Okay. We have declared it to be true. Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
sir.
Okay. And then also social media, Instagram, of course, at Glazener Studio. I share new work and, random pictures of my cats. So that's where you can find me.
It's beautiful work. It really is.
Thank you, friend.
I love it. Um, yes, this is a great call. Maybe I'm looking for new locations to do retreats. Next year, I'm going to be doing one in Cincinnati, and I'm doing another one in Santa Fe, and a couple here in Dallas. But I'm looking to go up north.
Oh, I got a
So,
spot for you. I got a
oh,
spot for you in the
oh,
in the Columbia River Gorge overlooking the Columbia River. There's a great spot that'd be perfect for
oh,
this.
good. Well, you
I'll
have to
I'll
give it
email
to
you
me.
about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would love that. I would
Yeah.
love that. Because and maybe I could plan it in the summer when it's so hot down here. I just can't handle it.
Yeah.
But I thank you too. Wonderful conversation and so much commonality.
Yes, absolutely. It's good to find each other.
Yeah. So listeners, I'm going to tap onto something Chad said earlier and remind you that today my second book came out called Spiritual Parable, and the reason I have to tap onto it is because some of the things he's talking about, I'm like, I have a story about that. I
Oh,
have a
fun.
story about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chad, when you mentioned that letting everything go,
Yeah.
there's a story. So
Good.
what spiritual parable is, listeners, is it's a way to step into presence before you walk into the studio. I guess I should have said that earlier in your call. Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
There's 40 stories, and I ask you to read one every morning when you get up. First thing, align yourself for the day. Have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, look out the window, look at the birds, read a story. There's 5 contemplative questions, and then there's an affirmation. But the stories are very simple, and they're not loaded down with theology or any words, just simple things about like letting stuff go and recognizing who you are is that heart space. So thanks for bringing it up, Chad. You gave me a little
Beautiful.
walk it.
Hey,
Yeah.
I volley, you spike.
Yeah, great. Anyway, so listeners, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Make sure you follow this channel so you can get more of these wonderful interviews. And as I said, if you're an artist that loves talking about spirituality and art, reach out to me. I love looking at new viewpoints. Viewpoints, there's that word
Oh,
again.
there you go. Yeah.
All right, so go out there, artists, go out there and be a spiritual artist. Talk to you soon. Thanks again for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're watching this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or iHeartRadio, make sure you choose the subscribe button so that you will receive updates when new segments are released. Most importantly, be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.